So till now what we have done is we have created a very simple data entry screen by which we can go and add customers. We also have a very nice search customer functionality by which we can go and search the customers. Now what we'd like to do is we'd like to go and put a delete customer functionality. So let's go and drag and drop a simple grid view source from the toolbox here. So let me go to the toolbox here and let me drag and drop a nice grid view source, and let's name this grid view source as DTG customer. So let me go to the properties and let's put it as DTG customer, right? And let's go ahead and add one more button to the screen, and this button will help us to go and delete the customer. So let's go ahead and name this button as BTN delete here, and we'll also name the text as delete. Okay, and let's go ahead and change that submit button also to something called as add, so that that goes and adds because that's already adding the records of the customer to the database. So now what we'll do here is that we'll go and flourish this data grid with customer. So as soon as this screen runs, right, it will fill the customer record. So if somebody wants to go and delete a customer record, he will go and select the customer from the data grid, and he will hit the delete button, and the customer will get deleted from the database. So let's start coding this functionality. So the first thing is, let's go ahead and double click on the form. Now the time you double click on the form, you will be popped up with the form load event, which you can see on the screen. Now this event fires for the first time when your form actually starts. So what we'll do is that we'll use this event to go and load our customers into that grid which we have just created. Okay, so you can see that I'm going and creating a very simple function here, or I'll say method here, called as load customer. And what we'll do is let's go to the search customer screen. So let's do one thing. Let's go to the search customer screen. We have already written the code for loading the customers in the search grid right over here. So we'll copy paste this code, and we'll just take this code and we'll paste it in this form load here. Okay, and we'll just go and change this grid name to the name of the grid which we have just created. So DTG customer, right? So now if you now run this form here, and if you just click on the enter customer screen, we can see that the grid is now flourished. Now what we'd like to do is that if somebody wants to go and delete the customer, he will go and select the record, and he will hit the delete button to delete the record from the database. So we have already done the one part of it, that is going and loading the grid. Now the next part which we have to do is we have to go and write a code on the delete button, which will help us to go and delete the customer from the database. Now before even the customer goes and deletes the customer record, we would like to give the customer an option where he can go and see the record before deleting. So what we'll do is that when a user goes and selects a grid, we will go and display the customer record, and then we can go and delete the customer. So let's try to figure out which is a good event which we can capture from the grid so that we can go and display the customer record. So if you see now here, there's a nice event here called as a row enter event. Now this event occurs whenever there is an input focus received on the row. So as soon as the user goes and selects this row here, he receives the input focus, and we would like to go and display the customer on the screen. So let's go and press enter. So you can see that there the event has now been, the code has now been created. So in this event what we will do is that whatever row the customer has selected, we'll first go and get that customer name. Okay, and we'll go and display the customer record on the text boxes which we have currently. Now the next thing what we'd also like to do is we'd like to go to the delete click, and here's where we'll go and put our logic to go and delete the customer from the database. So in short, what will happen is the user will go and click on the grid click on the record which he wants to delete. The row enter event will happen, will display the customer record, and then he will hit that delete click button to go and delete the customer from the database. So we are all set. Now it's time to go and write some code. So let's go ahead and create a very simple function here called as display customer. Now this display customer function we will call when somebody clicks on the data grid and selects a row. So this display customer function will take the customer code, or I'll say the customer name, and it will go and display the customer record on the user interface. So as soon as somebody clicks on the data grid and selects a row, the row enter event will be called. The row enter event will call the display customer function, and the display customer function will go and display the customer record on the user interface. So now let's go ahead in the row enter click event and declare a very simple variable here called as str selected customer. Now this str selected customer, will have the customer name which has been selected by the end user when he has selected a row in the data grid. So you can see that, what I'm doing is, I'm saying dtg customer dot rows. Now dtg customer is nothing but our data grid dot rows, and you can see that e dot row index. Now that e dot row index is nothing but the current selected index value or current selected row index of the data grid. So I'm saying that, okay, go to the rows collection of the data grid, take the selected index, take the first cell. Now remember, the first column actually has the customer name. So I'm taking the customer name value and I'm pushing it to that str selected customer variable. Now this str selected customer variable, will contain the customer name which is selected, by the end user when he clicks on the grid. And this value I have passed it to the display customer function, and the display customer function will take this value and display the customer, data on the screen. So let's go ahead and build this application. Now what we'll do is, let's go ahead and test, if really whatever the value which is selected on the grid is pushed into that str selected customer or not. So I've gone ahead and I have ran the application, and let me go and pop up the enter customer. Now what I'll do is, okay, I'll just go and run this. Okay, now let me go and put a debug point here, and what I'll do is I'll go and select Raju. Now let's see that if at least, the str selected customer has a Raju value. It has Shiv. Okay, let me again go back and let me select, must be Sham. Okay, so I can see Sham has been selected. Very good. Let me again go and select, must be, I can just select cust 1 2 3. Okay, let's see. Yes, cust 1 2 3 selected. Good. So you can see now how, as soon as we select a value, it's actually going and taking that value and pushing it to that variable. So this thing is working fine. So as soon as we select the value, now we are coming to know, which value is selected. Now the next thing is that, whatever the customer is selected, we would like to go and display that value on the left hand side. So if you remember, right, we had created a data entry screen. So whatever value I have selected there, the customer value, right, the customer row, I want to go and display that value on the left hand screen, and the user can then go and hit the delete button to go and delete this record, from the database. So now let's start coding in the display customer function here. So what we'll do is we'll go and select the customer name which has been passed into this function here, and we'll start then displaying the value. So I'm going to go and cut paste the same code which we had used in our search customer screen. The only thing what changes here is that we have to go and put the customer name. So you can see that basically we don't want to select all the records, but whatever name has been passed to this function, only that record we are going to select. Right, so you can see that I have tweaked the select star from customer table with a where clause there, and so and whatever name is passed to this function will be used in the select query, and only that record will be displayed. And we don't need to bind to any kind of data grid at this moment, so I'm going to go and delete that code from there. Now whatever data we're going to get into this tables here, right, whatever row we're going to get into this tables here, we're going to go and take that row and start displaying it on our UI. So let's start taking one field by one field from the row selected. So you can see that basically whatever data set is loaded, right, we're going to go inside the tables. Currently we have only one table, that is a customer table. So we're going to say, okay, tables of 0, and take the 0th row. The 0th row means the first row, because rows are 0 indexed. Okay, and take the first column and push it to the customer name variable. So basically you can see the way I have written the syntax here: obj dataset dot tables dot 0. So that means we have only one table, that is the customer table. Take the only one row which is selected, so take the 0th row and take the 0th column, that is the first column, which is nothing but the customer name. So in the same way, now let's take the second field. So if you see, now our second field is country there. So I'm going to go and create a string called as str country name, and I'm going to push the first column value to this field here, to this string here. So we have to mark the column as 1 there. In the same way, let's do it for the rest of the fields. So there I have created I have set all the fields, by using the what you call the column index. So you can see that the 0th column actually sets the customer name value, the first column sets the country name value, the gender is set by the second column, the hobbies is set by the third column, and finally you can see the married flag, which is nothing but a true and a false flag, is set by using the fourth column. Now if you look at the married flag specifically, right, I have converted that whole thing into a boolean because if you remember, right, the married data type which was there in SQL Server was a bit. So in other words, it has only true and false. So that's why I have gone ahead and I've set the value as boolean there, and all the other things I've set it as string. So let's go ahead and run the application to just check if the variables are getting set properly. So I'm running the application in a debug mode. I have started the data entry screen, the customer data entry screen, and you can see that there are a couple of problems here. You can see that the row enter event is firing unnecessarily. Okay, means I have not selected any row yet, and still this row enter event is firing. That is because the row enter event will fire not because when someone goes and selects a record, but even on a focus. Okay, so in other words, as soon as the row gets a focus, this event fires. So you can see that this event has fired because by default must be the focus is going on the row which is currently getting binded or added to the grid, and this is bad, right? This this code is not an efficient code. In other words, there is no selection of the record, and still this row enter event is firing. So must be we should pick up some other event of the data grid to make more sense. So let's right click on the data grid, and so we're going to get rid of this row enter event because it's not efficient. It fires on every focus and definitely not worth of it. Right, so let's hunt around for a good event. Now if you scroll above, right, there is a very nice event here called as the cell click event, and this is more better. In other words, it will only fire if somebody clicks on the cell or on the row, right? So let's go and pick up this event. So let's press enter, and you can see the event created there. So what we'll do is that we'll move our code from the row enter event to the cell click event here, and we'll see that how things can improve. So now let's go ahead and take the code from the enter event, the row enter event, and move it to the cell click event here. And what we'll also do is we'll just go and delete this event because we don't need it anymore. So let's go ahead and delete this, and let's go ahead and recompile a program just to ensure if we have any defects. I'm sure that we have one defect which we'll get, and that is because we removed the event, right? So we also need to ensure that we go and we remove the remove the handler for the event. So there it goes. So now let's again go back and recompile the code. So build solution, and everything is fine here. Great. So let's put a debug point and let's run this application to just check if at least whatever row is selected, those values are coming in the variable or not. So let me go and open the data entry screen here, and let's go ahead and select this row here just to check what happens. So I'm going to go and select this row, and I can see that the value is Raju. That is good. I'll just go and step in here, and let me just go and check out if other values are also receiving proper. So I can see that yes, it is making a select by using the Raju name. You can see that now he is going, and so if I first go, I can see that the variable customer name is now set to Raju. I can also see that the other variables are also getting set properly, right? That's good. And also the married thing, oh, you can see it has crashed here. Now this is but obvious, so why this has crashed, because if you go right to the Server Explorer and if you go and open the table, you will see that there are null records. So basically, because we have null records, it is saying that this is null, and also you have to first go and fix this whole thing. So so let's try to see that how we can handle this nulls here. So let's go ahead and see that how this nulls can be handled. So let's first go ahead and stop the program. So let me go ahead and stop the application here. So let me quickly go and stop the application there. Now, so the first thing what we have to do now is we have to go and check if this married field is null or not. Okay, Now what we'll do is, we'll say that by default, if the value is null in the database for the married field, we'll say that a person is unmarried. So you can see that I'm initializing the married field first with false, so that ensures that by default a person is unmarried. Okay, now let's go ahead and take the fourth column from the dataset object. So we're going to say here if obj dataset dot rows dot the fourth column. So I'm going to go and copy paste this. So if the fourth column is not equal to null, okay, so we're going to say db null dot value. Now what is db null? Db null is nothing but basically it's a class. It's a class which helps you to check the null values. So we're going to say, okay, if the fourth field of the data set, if it is not null, then go ahead and set the value to the married variable, or else by default the value will be false. Now one point to note here is that I'm not using the null. Okay, now this thing null, right, it's very useful when you have string variables, or when we have boolean variables, or normal .NET variables. But whenever you are dealing with fields and columns of data sets or ADO.NET objects, right, the most preferred way is using the db null class which we have written previously. So let me go back and change that. Alright, so we are all set now. This is going and checking if the value is not null, then it is going and setting the value, and in case it is null, then by default the person is unmarried. Right, so let's go ahead and run the application, and let's see that whatever code we have written is working or not. So let's see that if it is crashing, or if everything is fine. So let me go and run the enter customer screen there, and let's select Raju. You can see I have selected it. So there it goes. By default married is false. Now because this is null, you can see that the if condition has executed properly, and you can see that how currently the married variable is set to false, and the application has just moved ahead without any problems. So that is good. Things are working here. So let's go ahead and start for the other fields as well. So we have set almost all the fields. Now we have got all the values in the variables. Now it is time to set these values to the UI. So the first thing I'm going to set is the customer name. So you can see that I have typed here txt customer name dot text is equal to str customer name. Second, we have the countries value in the str country name. So I'm going to say, okay, combo box cmb countries dot text is equal to str country name. So that sets the value for the countries as well. And the next thing what we have is the gender. Now for the gender, what we'll do is we'll say that, okay, if we have no gender, in other words, for some reason if the gender is null, we'll say that, okay, if there is no gender, or if the gender is male, we'll go and check the radio button of the male. So you can see that I have put a if condition there, saying that if the gender length is equal to 0 or the gender is male, please go and check the radio button, that is radio male, to true. Sorry for females who think that I'm a bit gender specific here, but it is just example. So basically, in other words, if you get nulls, or if there is no gender provided in the database, it will be male by default, or else it will become a female. So you can see that if the gender is 0, if the length is 0 of the gender, then it is male, or else if I find in the gender the value male from the database, then it is the radio button of the male is checked, or else the female will be checked. So in the same way, you can see that I have also gone ahead and I have written the logic for hobbies here. So I'm saying that if the hobbies is painting, then please go ahead and check the painting checkbox, or else go ahead and check the reading checkbox. Also, let's go ahead and start writing some logic which will help us to set the radio married and the unmarried radio buttons. So I'm saying, okay, if the person is married, then please go ahead and check the radio married checkbox to true, or else go ahead and check the radio unmarried checkbox to true. So we are all set. Now let's go ahead and basically let's try to test if everything is working properly. So let's go ahead and open the enter customer screen here, and let's start selecting one record. So I can see that I'm selecting Ajay, Khadak, and you can see how every time I select at the left hand side the values are seen on the screen. So I'm very happy on this. Now the next thing what we have to do is as soon as the user selects the record, we would like to go and delete the record, right? So we have to go and write some logic which will help us to go and delete this record. So let's go ahead and let's open our screen in a design mode, and let's go and write some logic in this delete button click here. So in this delete button click, we'll say that okay, whatever rows are selected from the data grid, we would like to go and delete those values in this click here. So let's start writing the main important logic of going and deleting the records which are selected in the data grid. So now again, over here the code is completely standard. So let's go ahead and take that simple display customer same code, which helps us to go and select the record. So I'm going to go and copy paste the same code. What will only change is the SQL syntax here. So opening of the connection, closing of the connection, everything all remains same. But what changes is basically the command object. So you can see that I have copy pasted the code in the delete click here. Now the only thing what will change is that okay, we are going to say here delete from customer table where customer name, whatever is selected by the data grid. So what is selected by the data grid? It is nothing but basically this txt customer name dot text, right? So I'm going to go and put this control V here, and also we have to say obj command dot execute non-query. Now you can see that this is a very important step here. We have actually gone ahead and we have written the delete syntax, and we are saying to the command object to go and fire this query in a non-query mode. Non-query means basically we are not expecting any kind of return from the database, but we are just going to go and fire the query, and the query will go and manipulate the data, but we are not expecting any kind of return from the database as such. Great. So there we are done. And once things have been completed, we would like to go and load the customer and refresh the grid. Okay, so you can see that I'm calling the load customer function there, and this load customer function, what it does is it actually goes and loads the data. Now you can see that actually that load customer function, I think we have forgotten to write any code in that. So what we'll do is let's take the code from the form load event, and let's paste that code over here, because it's the same kind of code. So this load customer actually goes and loads the complete grid. Okay, and now this load customer will call in our form load event, as well as this will get called when somebody hits the delete button, a delete button on the screen. So there we are, all set and very nice. Let's see if things are working. So I'm going to do a control F5 here, and now let's start selecting the values and let's start hitting the delete button. Great, you can see that I'm selecting values, I'm deleting. So you can see that as I'm selecting the values, things are getting deleted here. So I'm deleting Khadak, I can delete Ajay and whatever it is. Great. So looks like our code is working very nice, and you can see that how the delete functionality has got implemented. So I hope that you have enjoyed this video. In this video we saw that how we can go and implement delete functionality in a project. Okay. Now, as we said that we are going to do practicals as well as we are going to do fundamentals. Okay, so both things have to go side by side. If you keep on doing practicals, then the fundamentals are not clear. In other words, you are doing practicals nicely, but your fundamentals are not up to the mark. So what my suggestion would be, in today's day, I will advise you to see two important fundamentals. One is threading. Now threading is a very important concept in C#. Threading helps you to run your processes parallelly. So if you have function 1 and function 2, and if you want to run them parallelly, then that's where we need threading. So my suggestion would be to go and see this video which talks about how to go and implement threading. So what you can do is go and log into your Questpon VD account, and you can see a section over there saying .NET Fundamentals. Frankly, what my advice would be to go and see the .NET Fundamental videos completely. So that's my advice. But in case you're trying to follow this learn series, right, learn 60-day series, my advice is for today's day, go and see this important principle called as threading, as well as I would like you to go and see one more video, very important here, called as debugging. Now debugging is a very important concept in C# or I'll say in programming, because you have to go debug, you have to find defects. So there are 5 important tips which we have talked about here, which will help you to improve your debugging skills. So for today's day, we learned how to go and implement delete, as well as you can go and watch these 2 videos so that you can understand how to implement threading and how to improve your debugging skills. Now again, today's day was huge, so we are not going to take any more new topics for today's day, because if you see this video, it is almost of 30 minutes, but it's a huge video, it's a complicated video. So my suggestion would be to watch these 2 topics and try to complete that practical. And as I said that for fresher, this practical is definitely very difficult. It's not so easy. So my suggestion would be, please go ahead and add the correspond support IDs of Skype. So correspond support 1 and correspond support 2. Add both these Skype IDs. So in case wherever you're stuck in these practicals, we are there to help you out. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. In the next day, that is tomorrow, we are going to do two things. We're going to go and implement update functionality in our project, as well as we're going to see we're going to go and tidy up the application with some cleanups. Okay, so tomorrow's day we'll be talking about how to go and implement update functionality and how to go and do some tidying up on the application. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much.